going on, guys? And also want to give a big shout out to my Auburn fan base. Want to give you guys a big War Eagle. And once again, it's Case through the GOAT from Vernon Speak Sports, talking about Auburn football and the rest of the SEC. If you could, do me a favor and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the subscribe button to the point where you hit the bell, so every time I come on, you will get a notification. And also, I need a little encouragement, baby. Put some stuff in the comments talking about what you want to hear next, and maybe some feedback on the content, and we'll go from there. All right, so it's no secret that Auburn's coach Gus Malzahn has literally a love-hate relationship with the fan base. There's no middle ground. Either you really like Gus Malzahn or you really freaking hate his guts. Now, what are some of the things that are to like about Gus Malzahn? Well, I'll tell you what. I've been an Auburn fan pretty much all my life, and the level of talent that he has been able to attract to Auburn is really unprecedented. When I think about some of the players over the years, the Nick Marshalls, the Cam Newtons, the Trey Masons, all of those high-level elite talent that we weren't accustomed to at Auburn, he has been able to sustain this over the years that he's been there. Another thing that I really like about Auburn is that most of the years that he's been there as the head coach, Auburn has at least been in the conversation about SEC West titles, about possible college football playoff berths. Now, this is also with multiple losses in the season. There have been several Novembers to where if he could have just finished it off, he could have been one of the first multiple loss teams to be in the college football playoff. And that's one thing that we like about Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn also has been in the SEC championship multiple times. His first year in 2013, and then again in 2017 was he able to make it to the SEC championship. We also like Gus Malzahn because for the most part, he has been very competitive with Alabama. He's been somewhat of a nemesis to Nick Saban, especially when Auburn plays Alabama in Auburn. If you look at those games, Alabama does not play well at all, especially in the first half against Auburn. He's been very competitive against Alabama for the most part. Probably not as much as people would like to give him credit for, because even in the first half of this game, Alabama was just on another level football-wise compared to Auburn for several reasons. But Auburn was only down at halftime 17-14, and also gave Tua Tagovailoa his first consecutive 3-and-outs the whole year. And that's something to rest your hat on. They just kind of fell apart in the third quarter. But for the most part, that was a very entertaining first half for Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Another thing that we like about Gus Malzahn is when he's on, he's on. I remember there was a streak in 2016 where he literally could not be stopped as a play caller. Then in 2017, Auburn goes on these streaks. But the only thing is, when we get to the part of what we don't like about Gus Malzahn, he just can't sustain it. Why doesn't the Auburn fan base not like Gus Malzahn? Gus Malzahn is just way too casual when it comes to losing the big games. Whether it's in the game or whether it's his post-game interview, he just comes off very casual. Auburn is a very, very passionate fan base. And to have had, say for instance, the LSU game literally in your hands and to just casually, negligently let the game go, is just unacceptable. It's unacceptable to the Auburn fan base to be up 20-0 against one of your biggest rivals and then wind up losing the football game. It's also just as equally unacceptable to be up against that same team the consecutive year, 21-10 late in the game, to lose that game. I'm going to tell you guys, games that Auburn fan bases just do not like to lose is LSU, Georgia, and Alabama. And let alone if you have like a legitimate chance to win this game and then you wind up losing the football game, it's just terrible for the Auburn fan base. That's the thing that Auburn fans have come to really dislike about Gus Malzahn, is him not winning the games that you just got to win. Like last year, the game against Tennessee, that was absolutely just an unacceptable loss. You talk about Auburn going from an 8-5 year to possibly a 10-win season. If you win a game like that, the game against Mississippi State, just absolutely an unnecessary loss. You know, the fan base gets tired of those. Those are the little games that hurts Gus Malzahn to where he winds up with these 4-loss seasons unnecessarily. So that's another thing. In order for Gus to win this fan base over, he absolutely has to win those games that you just got to have them. Another thing is the lack of preparation in certain games and the lack of second half adjustments in certain games is what the Auburn fan base has become like, just grueling mad at Gus Malzahn when he does this. Another thing is the dreadful 12 o'clock game that Gus Malzahn seems to never have his team prepared for. This year, for example, I'll just go out on a limb and say if Auburn would have played Tennessee at night, that game would not have been close. It's just something about the preparedness of the Auburn Tigers when they play those night games that are just crucial. When we were playing against Texas A&M during the 12 o'clock, I was like, oh man, this is a setup. And it almost turned out to be, outside of the miraculous comeback in the second half. Another thing that Gus Malzahn has to do is get some type of consistency. He starts out, he usually has a little streak in the middle of the season, but what he's going to have to do, and he has a great opportunity to do that this season, is start a trend of consistency. Now, how do you start a trend of consistency? It's just being focused. Being focused and concentrating on the main thing. And that's something that Gus Malzahn absolutely has to do if he wants to continue his tenure at Auburn. He has a great opportunity to win some huge games. Some games that really jump out at me that's going to be a little tricky is he has to go down to Florida. Florida's an up-and-coming team. I think Auburn has more talent than Florida and actually will have more capability, but that's a tricky game for Auburn, okay? That's one that he absolutely needs to win. That doesn't need to be one that he winds up negligently losing and getting on the interview saying we had our chances, we'll get better. This is not the year for that for Gus Malzahn. He needs to utilize what he did in that Purdue game and be straight all about execution. Don't leave anything on the table, and you can win this fan base back over, baby. Because like it or love it, Gus Malzahn has developed on a high level as a coach. I mean, you got to look at his tenure. He started out as a high school coach. He really didn't have to pay high-level dues like being a graduate assistant, being an offensive coordinator, having to jump on whatever. He really got in very uncharacteristic of what other coaches have to go through to get on with the program. So for that purpose alone, I think Gus Malzahn has been a highly successful coach at Alabama. At Auburn. I'm sorry, at Auburn. Because I was thinking about Alabama because I was thinking about Nick Saban in the same verse. Because the thing is, to be able to even be on the same playing field, let alone having victories over Nick Saban, and your tenure is what Gus Malzahn's tenure is phenomenal. So we have to give him credit for that. But now it's time for Gus Malzahn to make the turn as the coach at Auburn. He has all the pieces in place. He has a potentially great offense coming back. I mean, he has weapons galore on offense. Just name one. Schwartz, Seth Williams, Boobie Whitlow, Cam Martin, Sal Cannella, Bo Nix potentially, Malik Willis. I like Bo Nix though. I think Bo Nix will be the starter. On defense, so much to choose from. Great recruits coming in. So this is the year that Gus Malzahn absolutely has to make the turn and win this fan base over and solidify himself as a potentially legendary coach at Auburn University. Once again, is K-Stu the GOAT for Burn and Speak Sports, talking mainly about Auburn football and the rest of the SEC. Like, comment, and subscribe. You all have a spectacular day, man. It's a beautiful day out here in Loganville, Georgia. take care.